When you have your girls, you're never alone. You get together for coffee, maybe to work out, or just to laugh. We created Hey Girl, just for you. Can't wait for you to join us.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Hey Girl. I'm your girl, Kim with an E, and this is episode 94. We are in the countdown to 100. And if you're joining us for the first time, welcome. Hey Girl is a safe space where you can share your experience and be affirmed. Let's face it, life can be complex and sometimes overwhelming. That's why we believe in the power of conversation, because knowing you're not alone is what will help you get through. I'm so glad you're here, guys. Come on in and say hello in the comments. Let me know that you're here, and we are going to have a great show today. Hey, join today's live, like, follow, and share. Hey, girl. And let's get into it. So, we are in the month of February. Happy Black History Month to you all. And of course, our theme this month is Black Girl Magic. Very appropriate. We are celebrating amazing women who have done amazing things, and not just in the past, but are doing so in the present. And what I would love for you to do as you're coming in, first like, follow, and share, but also do me a favor and put in the comments the name of a Black woman that you admire or who inspires you. So sometimes when we think about Black History Month, we think about the greats, we think about Rosa Parks, we think about Toni Morrison, we think about Shirley Chisholm. But what about the people in your everyday life, right? We are making history every day of our own lives in our own small way. We have impact on those that we encounter. And I know each one of us has some woman that has been particularly special in our own lives that we should certainly recognize. Whether or not their name ever makes it into the history books, let's put their name in the chat and say the name of the woman who inspires you. I don't know if you were here last week, but Valerie Lee is certainly one of those women who inspires me. If you missed last week's show, be sure to go back and watch. You can find the recording of past episodes right here on our page. And she is certainly a woman who has done groundbreaking things at The Ohio State University. She has reached levels of success and in higher education as an administrator and leader of many departments, several departments, not just English, but the field of African studies and women's studies. And she has certainly made an impact in her own way. And I would call her name as someone who certainly inspires me. So if you missed last week's episode, be sure to go back and check it out. Hey guys, welcome. Say hello in the comments. Let me know that you are here, and put the name of a woman who inspires you in the comments and let us know who she is. Guys, we started the year off in January writing the vision. And the goal is, in talking about vision, thinking about not just what it is that God has called us to do, but also looking at ways that we can do it. And so I have decided that every month this year, we're going to talk in one way or another about goals and achieving those goals. And so I have so many things in store for you. I hope you will hang in and keep watching. Of course, the rest of this month, we're going to continue with Black Girl Magic. And then next month in March, I am really excited for you all to join me for All the Things Mom Never Taught Me. Each week, we're going to be talking to women who have amazing things that they have learned. And it wasn't, they aren't things that their mother was able to teach them for one reason or another. So we're going to get some really, really good information. Be sure to join us next month also. And speaking of writing the vision, I want to just remind you once again to pick up my book, Trust the Process, How Writing Can Help You Get Unstuck. The whole goal of this book is to help you actually write out that vision. And it is not a book for writers only. It is a book for those who want to use writing as a tool. And I will show you how. So you can pick up your copy on Amazon today if you want. And be sure to share it with a friend also. And I don't want you to forget about our weekly newsletter. Every week I try my best to send you an encouraging word and little freebies that also encourage you, downloadables And so I would love if you would just subscribe. I promise I won't spam you. I don't send out emails all the time. Once a week is all it is. And you can be first to know all the things that are coming down the pike. All right. Also, you can go to justkim.net, and that's how you can access the Hey Girl store. And you can actually sign up for the newsletter through justkim.net. So another way for you to get in there. Who is with me? Say hello in the comments. I don't know if I'm missing the comments yet. If you've already said hello, but if not, do say hello and let me know that you are here. So also, don't forget to tell me about a Black woman that you admire. And speaking of Black women, I want to once more also remind you about the Hey Girl High Five list. So, the Hey Girl High Five is a list of small minority owned businesses. And I think this month we should particularly highlight those businesses that are owned by Black women. Don't you agree? So, if you know of a small owned business, particularly if it's owned by a Black woman, I would love for you to let me know so I can add her to the list. We want to make sure you all know these businesses are out there, and we definitely need to be supporting them. So you can shoot me an email or actually a message from the justkim.net page. There's a way to contact me, and you can say, hey, you need to put this business on your Hey Girl High Five. And guys, check out the Hey Girl High Five list and definitely support these small businesses. All right. Well, I'm so glad that you're here. Go ahead and like today's live, share it on your own page. And I am so excited to introduce you to my guest for today. Her name is Cynthia Pean. And she is an internationally known published author, media contributor, and authoritative voice on plant based foods of the African diaspora. She is a professionally trained plant based chef and nutritional consultant who has served up her nutritious meals to celebrities such as Will Smith and Eric Benet. Cynthia travels the world to build on her knowledge and exposure to traditional foods and strives to be an expert on healing and treating disease via a plant-based diet. So if you would, please welcome with me my guest for today, Chef Cynthia Pean.
Oh, I love the sound
Hey,
effects.
girl.
Hey, how you
Yeah.
doing? I'm
I'm
excited to
great.
be
How are
here.
you?
I'm good.
Oh,
I'm good. I am
awesome.
honored to be on your show today, and I'm excited about our conversation.
Oh my gosh, I am honored to have you on my show. What do you mean? And I must say, you are looking absolutely fabulous. The hair
Thank
is
you.
everything.
I had to
Everything.
had to get it to I had to get it right for Hey Girl.
Oh man, you got it right. You got it
Thank
right.
you. Thank you.
Yes. So I would love for you to share with us before we get into all the things, just a little bit
Mhm.
about you and your background, where you from, siblings, where'd you grow up? Just give us a sense of who you are or where you came from first, and then we'll talk about who you are now.
Okay. So I am a San Francisco native. I was born and reared in
Okay.
San Francisco, California. I am a first generation American of Liberian and Guyanese descent. My father is from Liberia, West Africa. My mother was from Guyana, South America. I
Wow.
grew up, those are my parents. That's back in the day, Amos and Joan. Um, I grew up, I have three older brothers, but two of them were born in Liberia with
Okay.
my father's in a previous relationship, and then I have my brother Alvin that some of you may know that I grew up
Okay.
with, and he is the bass in Take Six.
Yes.
Um, and we grew up, in the Bay Area. We grew up, as I look back at it now, we had such a rich childhood because we
Mhm.
went to San Francisco Junior Academy, which was the Adventist Academy. But when we went
Mhm.
there, there were Tongans and Filipinos and Samoans and El
Mhm.
Salvadorians and Russians and Chinese and Japanese. And it literally was like the United Nations at school every day. And so from a
Cool.
very young age, we were exposed to culture.
Mhm.
We're in the lunchroom and I had like curry and rice, and somebody else had like pancit and chicken adobo, or, we
Nice.
were just exposed to so many things from such a young age. And San Francisco, when I'm 50, I'll be 51 in May. And so when I
Oh,
was growing up in San Francisco, it was all kinds of stuff was going on. It was like really
yeah.
culturally just like, a hot spot. And um it really influenced who I am. And
Mm,
so I have that whole aspect, and then I have culturally my parents' heritage that I love it. I love that my
yeah.
father's African, like straight up African. I love
Yeah.
that my mother was from the West Indies, and my parents didn't assimilate. They were
Yeah.
who
Okay.
they were. And so
Mhm.
I love it. I love what has made me who I am today, and I celebrate it. And that is why my approach to food celebrates
Mm.
Africa and the diaspora. You can see my
Yes.
office. I'm all
Yes.
things black.
Vibrant. It's
So
so
that's what I
vibrant.
am.
I
Hmm.
love it. I love it. It sounds like you had just a rich upbringing,
I did.
culturally rich.
I did.
Yeah.
And it's why that's why it's so important to age and be able to look back, because you can realize how blessed you were. While
Yeah.
you're in it, you've got so many complaints, but I'm at a point in my life where I can look back and just say, "Thank you, Lord, that I had the parents I
Mm.
had and that I grew up the way that I did."
Yes. That's awesome. So I'm wondering if when you were growing up, and it's interesting, my mother used to live in San Francisco up until recently. She
Oh,
lived there for quite a long time.
oh wow.
But yeah, so it's so funny. When you said San Francisco, I was like, oh
Yeah.
wow. I didn't grow up there, but she moved there after I had moved away, and she lived there for maybe 15 years or so.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, so I'm familiar with the area. But I'm curious, when you were growing up in the culturally rich background and upbringing that you experienced, did you have some sense then of what you wanted to be, and in what ways did that your cultural surroundings influence what you thought you wanted to be as you were thinking about yourself growing up?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I tell people proudly that I'm a late bloomer, and I say that because I want people to not give up hope, and I want them to realize that in his time, he makes all
Yeah,
things beautiful in his time. And
that's good.
I absolutely did not know. I was always a creative person. Um, I've always liked beautiful things. I've always liked food, hence my lifelong struggle with my weight. But I never thought about it as a career, and
Mm,
those who may be watching who have West Indian parentage or African parentage, there's a joke that either you're a doctor,
yeah.
a lawyer, a nurse, or you're a failure, right?
Yes.
Those are the three things so I for me to have said I want to go into food is something that would have never been celebrated. As a matter of fact, I tell people this: when my brother joined Take Six, my parents were mad. They're like,
Upset, I'm
"What?"
sure.
Oh yeah, my mother used to make fun of them and the whole nine. Fast forward when they blew up, she was the biggest fan. But
Of
so for
course.
my parents, this is what you're supposed to do. So
Yeah.
I came about this much later in life.
So what did you start out doing?
Oh my goodness, I was all over the place. I moved to New York City because I always had a love affair with New York City, and I got
Mhm.
into PR. And so
Mhm.
I was doing PR for some independent labels in New York at this firm called Double Exposure. And then from there, I went to Time Warner. I was at Time Warner for a few years doing minority business development. And then from there, I went to the Museum for African Art and was doing
Wow,
community development. So I could talk myself into any job. Like,
that's so
I
funny.
honestly,
Yeah.
I think that if I think I could talk, I can convince you that I can do anything. But my
I
heart
believe
was
you.
never in it, so it
Yeah.
fizzled. So I did a
Yeah.
lot of things, a lot of work in the nonprofit world, and
Yeah.
I was a stylist for a while. I've done a
Wow.
little bit of everything.
Yeah. But I'm glad to hear you say that because I have actually taught students who came from the similar cultural backgrounds, very familiar with the what is expected, and
Right.
they too struggled because they were
Yeah.
like, I'm a science major, I'm a biology major, but I hate it. I'm only doing it because my parents want me to. And it's interesting that inevitably your heart will lead you, right? Like you may try to force it and do the thing that they want you to do, but you'll find your way back to what you actually are purposed to do. And so this is a message for all you parents out there. Don't force your kids because they'll find their way to what they really want one way or another. And it may be, you may be actually doing more harm than good. But even as I say that, I would also say that nothing is wasted. And I bet you can
No.
attest that all of those experiences have been beneficial to you in one way or another now that you've been through it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
And
how
and I
did you
think that
find your way? Sorry,
um
how did you find your
no,
way
no, no, no,
to
you're
what
fine,
you?
you're fine. I think, I I try to have this philosophical approach to it sometimes, but honestly, it was just God.
Mm,
It
mm-hmm.
honestly just boils down to it was God. I lost my job in 2008. I was running a nonprofit that provided scholarships to girls from the inner city that were like brilliant. So these are girls that like were from Watts or from like Compton or East LA, disadvantaged financially, but brilliant. So they were getting into Yale, they were getting into Princeton, they were getting into all these schools. And I worked in
Mm-hmm.
this program as an executive director that got them scholarships. Well, 2008
Mm-hmm.
hit and the bottom dropped out. A lot of
Mm,
our funders pulled back. And it was a really dark time for me. It was a really dark
mm,
time for me. I could not
mm-hmm.
find a job to save my life.
Wow.
And I let me give you an example. I tell people the way that the Lord has worked in my life, and I know I'm not his favorite. So I'm saying this to say that the way he has hooked me up and blessed me, he can do it for others as well, obviously. So at
Mm.
one point, I applied for a job with Madonna, the singer,
Oh,
and
okay.
to run her found she had a I don't know if she may still have it. It's called Raising Malawi, a foundation out of Africa. And I was flown to New York City and I literally sat across from her in her living room and interviewed for this job. The next day I flew back to LA and was at Starbucks filling out an application. I
Oh,
could not
wow.
find a job. It was highs and
Oh, wow.
lows. Nothing
Yeah.
happened. And then my church a nominating committee called, and I'm sure you've been on the receiving end of a nominating committee call, and
Yes.
they said we need somebody to head up dining committee. Would you be willing to volunteer? And I was like, I don't have a job. I've got nothing else to do. I'll do it. And I realized I loved cooking. I mean, I always liked it, but I never thought about it as a career. And
Uh-huh.
so I said, I think this may be my passion. I love the
Mm.
challenge. I love having to figure things out. I loved, seeing people's reaction when they ate my food. And
Yeah.
so that is what switched things for me. And once that switched, and let me tell you, I was about 37 years of age when this happened. So,
Okay.
that's
Mhm.
16 years doing all kinds of jobs.
Right.
And that's it. From there,
Hmm.
things just took off.
So you never thought of cooking. You just cooked for yourself and your family? I mean,
Yeah,
cooking was never
yeah.
something that you were really.
It's my love language. So it's what
Yeah.
I did because it was how I loved people. But I never
Uh-huh.
recognized that my love language could be my
Mhm.
livelihood.
Wow. Wow. That's so interesting. And so what
Yeah.
did you do? What did you do first when you recognized that this was something that you could make a living doing? What was your
Well,
first
my
foray?
first my first thing was, okay, you think you can do this. do it. So I went on Craigslist and I told my boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband, I said, I think I want to be a private chef. I'm going to try to find a private chef job. So I go on Craigslist and there's a family in Beverly Hills that was looking for a chef. And I applied. They had me come by and meet them. And then they wanted me to come back and audition, which was cook a meal for them. And I did so. And I got the job. But let me tell you, I was up against Ellen DeGeneres' chef, and I was up against Tom Cruise's chef. And
Wow.
I got the job because they said when they ate my food, it just felt like comforting. What
Wow.
they said, we don't need all that fancy plating. We just want really good food.
Oh,
And
wow.
they were a grandmother and grandfather who had custody of 3 young grandchildren. And
Okay.
I got that job and I did it for 2 years, 5 days a week. And it was a great
Wow.
challenge because I had to think of what I was going to cook 5 days a week. Every meal was soup, salad, entree. And so
Mm-hmm.
it really, I really work best in environments where it's just like the fire is under me. And that was one
Yeah.
of those situations. And so I did that for 2 years. And then I decided to go to culinary school. After doing that is when
Okay.
I decided to go to culinary school.
Okay, because that was going to be my question. I was like, wait, you competed with these top chefs and you had never been like formally trained?
Mm-mm, mm-mm. No, no,
Yeah.
I just, and that's why I say it was God, because
Yeah.
I have had, and I'm sure we'll talk about it as this conversation goes on. I have had experiences where I'm just like,
How? How did I get here?
whoa, yeah, how did I get here? And and failure is not an option. And one of the things
Yeah.
I will say is once you realize that failure is not an option, you will astound yourself at what you can do.
Mm.
Once it's not
Mm.
enough, when the stakes are high and you're like, look, you will
It's
astound yourself of what God will do through you.
sink or swim.
Sink or swim.
Yeah. So tell us, what were some of the early challenges that you faced? What were some of those sink or swim moments? And can you think of any one in particular that you were like, oh, I am about to just completely bomb? And what did you do? How did you handle it?
Well, I haven't had that, but I think it is the battle of self-doubt. And
Ah,
that never ends. That
got you.
never ends because especially when like the people that I cook for now or the person that I cook for now, there is a level of excellence that is the standard.
Uh-huh.
So
Mm-hmm.
there is an incredible amount of anxiety
Mm-hmm.
because y-
Yeah,
excellence is the standard and
that's it. Yeah.
people are waiting for you to mess up so they can
Mm-hmm.
get their turn, and so
Mm-hmm.
it is the fear, like the imposter syndrome, like, am I really good? Am I as good as I
Yeah.
think I am? You don't want to feel yourself, because if you feel yourself too much, then you're not hungry. You got to stay hungry.
Mm-hmm.
You got to stay in the
Mm-hmm.
pursuit of excellence so you can only
Yeah.
get so comfortable. And my last gig I got off, I was in New Orleans for 7.5 months.
Wow.
And it was
How,
day in, day out up
yeah.
here.
Yeah. How does that work? I mean, you're going and cooking in people's homes, or are you like just going and like staying in a hotel nearby and then going in every day to their homes? How does that
Well, all of
you
us
or
were
does
put
it
up. We all had Airbnbs. We all had like
okay.
long-term rentals, and
Okay.
this in this particular time, typically I would cook in the home, in the principal's home. But this particular time, because that's what I've done the other 2 times before, but this time he didn't want that. So we had a house that was
Oh.
like 6 minutes from where he was, and we would cook and then have to
Mm-hmm.
transport
Oh,
and
wow.
do a whole display. And I thought I sent a picture to Amanda, but maybe I didn't. And it's a whole spread. And this could be, call time is at 4:30 a.m. even if you know that he's not going to eat that food, there's a chance that he might. So you have to have
Mm,
that full spread out there at
mm,
4:30 a.m.
yeah. Now, with this kind of job, you're obviously working with others. How does that, do you have, are you
Oh,
employing others, or do they
no,
have others
you're
that they
not.
have you working with? Or
Oh no, you're not working with others.
you're not, you're
Oh
doing all this
no.
just one
Mm-mm.
person?
You're one person. Figure it out. If you don't think you can do
Oh,
it, there's somebody else who will do it. So
okay.
this last time was different in that I got a promotion and I went from being being his chef to overseeing the other chefs. But even
Okay.
with that, there's only one person working per
Okay.
day.
So you don't have a
Yeah.
sous chef, you don't have somebody who can chop up the
Oh,
stuff for you while you working on the stove. Oh my goodness.
figure it out.
Yeah.
And that's why I tell people that the private chef world for like VIPs and stuff, people are like, oh, I want to do that. Okay, but it's a lot. It's a
Yeah.
lot because you have to. When I first worked with, when I worked with Mister in Savannah, there were 15 people in and out of the house all day long, in addition to him, and they all had to be fed, and they got fed
Mm.
whatever they wanted to eat. So you were short order cook, you were five
Oh,
star chef, you were, and
so you're just
that's
cooking
just
all
how it
day,
is.
basically. Oh wow. So
Yeah.
I was gonna ask again, so what are some of the challenges? It sounds like everything is the challenge. The whole
Everything is a
thing is a
challenge
challenge.
because yeah, and you can't take things personally, and you have to be pleasant.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
okay, you were told that there's going to be a meeting at the house for 10 people. You have to have meals for everybody. You get it all together. You get to the house and you're like, nobody's here. Oh, they canceled the
Wow.
meeting. And we
Oh my
need to have
goodness.
regular dinner in an hour. And you're like, okay.
What do you do with the food then?
You repurpose it. You give it to the housekeepers. Um,
Wow, wow, wow,
yeah,
wow.
yeah.
So these jobs that you've gotten, I know you've gotten
Hmm.
some pretty high, you know, some big names that you've been able to cook for.
Hmm.
How do those come about? Is it once you get one, word of mouth gets you the other gigs?
God. It's all God. It's all God. Mr. Smith, I got a phone call. I had been living in Los Angeles, but had moved. I was living in Atlanta at this point. And
Hmm.
there was an agency that I had sent my information to and completely forgot about it. And they reached out
Mm.
to me and they're like, oh, we have this job in Manhattan Beach that we think you'd be perfect for. And I said, I don't live in LA anymore. Oh, where are you? I said, I'm in Atlanta. How far is that from Savannah? And I said, I don't know. So I go on Google and I was like, oh, it's 4 hours from here. Oh, because there's this job, that you would probably, they're looking for a chef. They just fired the person and it's going to be shooting for 5 months and they're looking for somebody. And I said, well, I live in Atlanta, so I don't even know how that would work.
Yeah.
Okay, well, update your resume and and we'll, if anything comes through in Atlanta. I said, fine. So the next day I got a phone call again. We really want you to think about this. And I
Huh.
said, okay. And then they told me who it was. And I said, oh, that's great. But I still live 4 hours away. Like, I'm not,
Right.
what am I supposed to do? Drive every day? And at this point, I had never done that type of work.
Okay.
So then my husband said to me, well, I guess you could get an Airbnb. And I said, oh, okay. So I said, okay, you can put me into consideration. Okay, well, tomorrow, we need you to drive to Savannah. You have to put together a 4 course meal. You have to put it in a igloo, an insulated thing, and drive it there because the kitchen's not set up yet. Warm it in the microwave and plate it. Hey, Lisa James. And I was like, okay. So I had to wake up at like 3 in the morning, cook this meal, get all my garnishes and everything, and drive to Savannah.
Wow.
And when I got there, I'm putting everything together. There's all kinds of confusion because they're getting the house together, and Mr. Smith
Mhm.
walks in. And I was like, trying not to get distracted. And he was amazing. He was like,
Really?
"Hey, a new face." And he gave me a hug. And, I cooked. He didn't try the food. Somebody else tried the food. And I got the
Uh-huh.
job. And I immediately became the head chef because the previous chef got fired because I think he was on drugs or something. I don't know what his story was. But that's how I
Wow.
landed that job. God.
Wow.
That was nothing but God. And I'm a plant-based chef. And when they told me about the job, they're like, "Look, we know you're plant-based, but you may have to cook chicken and stuff." Like, he doesn't eat pork, he doesn't eat this, but you may have to cook. And I was like, "Okay, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna quit for this opportunity." So that's how that happened. All God. All God.
Wow. Yeah. That's amazing, but that's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's how he
I feel like that.
works.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. And so obviously then you're developing a reputation for good food because they're
Mhm.
calling you and so that's getting you that's you're building on that reputation. Um,
And I think too, what is key, the thing that I want to, like, press in this is
yeah,
the pursuit of excellence. You may
yeah,
not be excellent, but the pursuit of excellence is
yeah,
so key. Your work ethic has to be like, "Look, I'm not going to stop until I get this right." And those
yeah.
are the things that make you stand out. And that's what I've heard from them. It was really funny because the person that hired me said to me, um, "You're the first person that we've hired 3 times." And I said something, and she was like, "It's not because of your cooking." And I was like, she said, "No, I mean, your food is good. We're not saying that." But she said, "It's your work ethic. That's why we keep bringing
Um,
you back, because we know that you're going to get it right." So if there's
yeah,
anything that I will say is the pursuit of it, keep that prayer in your heart. "Lord, guide me to my
yeah,
excellence," and pursue
yeah.
that every single time.
Yeah, yeah. I can't help but think about Daniel and the three Hebrew boys. They stood out because they were excellent in all things, and they held to their principles and their beliefs and traditions. They were respectful, but they were also excellent, and so they
Hmm.
were able to find favor because of their performance and doing their
Hmm.
very best. So
Hmm.
there's no excuse, whether you're in captivity or whether you're thrown into a situation that's hard. You don't use that as an excuse to
No.
slack off,
No,
basically.
and
Yeah.
and I don't know if this was before we started talking on live or before, but what I was saying is that, oh my gosh, I just lost it. It'll come back to me.
Oh, that's okay. Well, I
It'll come
want to
back to me.
talk a little bit about your specialty. You talked about the clean foods, the plant-based foods, and I'm interested in knowing, have you always been plant-based? Was it something you came into later? And what exactly do you do? So you started off just cooking food, not having
Hmm.
been trained, and then you went to
Hmm.
culinary school. So
Hmm.
talk to us about what your particular specialty is, particularly as the things that you cook.
So after I did that chefing for 2 years, I decided to go to culinary school, and I specifically wanted to go to a plant-based culinary school,
Hmm.
because my mother had diabetes, my aunt had diabetes, my uncle had
Hmm.
diabetes. And I just
Yeah.
didn't want my food, like, I always make this joke that, like, in the culinary world, people like deep, like, battered butter, deep fried butter, and deep fried this and
Yes.
that. And I was like, I don't want to contribute to people's health issues. I want my food
Right.
to give life. And so that's why I decided to do that. And I have primarily cooked plant-based, outside of when my clients, specifically will ask me for something. But it's
Hmm.
been my lifestyle personally for the past, I would say, the past 10 years.
Hmm.
And I love it. I think that food as close to its natural state is what is best for you. I stand by
Hmm.
that. Food is medicine. just as
Mm-hmm.
food can bring about inflammatory diseases and all kinds of hypertension and all that kind of stuff, food can
Mm-hmm.
heal your body with no side effects. So let's use what God
Mm-hmm.
gave us to heal our bodies. And that's what I stand by.
So when you cook for people, do you propose a menu or do they tell you what to cook?
I typically propose a menu. I've
Mm-hmm.
been fortunate to work with people that are really kind of, they'll tell me what they absolutely don't like and what they love, and then you just go from there. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, I come up with my own ideas.
So have you what has been the response, let's say, if you've cooked something that maybe someone hasn't had before, maybe they're not plant-based and you created a dish that was plant-based. What typically is their response? Are they surprised? Are they
Always,
expecting it to?
always,
Yeah.
always surprised. And I've heard people say numerous times, if I could eat like this, I would be vegan.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that I do believe I have a gift, and I
Hmm.
think that what my approach to cooking is, I always talk about building layers of flavor. Like I want each
Hmm.
component of whatever I'm cooking to be able to stand on its own. And
Hmm.
people like that right there, that picture, that's tomato that I seasoned to take the place of tuna. Um, and it's delicious. It's got all these different flavors, textures, everything going on in there. And I think you just have to be very intentional about creating an experience for somebody. And I believe that that's what people experience when they eat my food.
Oh man, and I've seen the pictures. They all look so delicious. And what I love about plant-based food is how colorful it is. If you take a
Mm-hmm.
plant-based plate
Mm-hmm.
and put it side by side with the chicken and potatoes or whatever, it just looks more appealing. It's more beautiful, it's
Yeah.
more vibrant. So I love it. So can you share with us some of your specialties? Like, what do you have, like a special dish that just is always a winner that
Oh,
you
my
could
French
describe?
toast. I have a French toast that I make that only uses 2 tablespoons of sugar. And I mean, that's for like a
Ah,
whole, French loaf. And I do a coconut whipped cream with it and fresh berries. And
ah,
whenever I fix that, people like eat and eat and eat it. So I would
uh,
say that's one of my number one things. Um,
mhm.
I think I've mastered tofu as well. We're fortunate as Seventh Day Adventists.
Yeah.
We've been doing this plant-based, alternative meat thing for so long that we've got one
Yeah.
leg up. So I
Yeah.
definitely employ my Adventism, you know,
Yes. Yes.
in how I approach a lot of the cooking.
Yeah, I love it. Of course. And we, as those of us who've grown up Adventists, I grew up feeling ashamed and I was different from everybody and they would turn their nose up at my, veggie food or whatever. And so it was something I was embarrassed by as a kid, but it's so
Mm-hmm.
funny now to see it becoming mainstream, a lot of the
Oh,
practices
yeah.
that we grew up with.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, when I was in
Yeah.
culinary school, they would constantly refer to Loma Linda and this
Yeah.
and that. Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the
That
holy
is
grail
so.
for them. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So talk to me about your business. It's Off Cave, is that right?
AFCAVE,
Hopefully
and
I'm
it's an acronym for Afro Carib Vegan. That's where that came from.
nice.
My brother helped me think that up because I was trying to think of every name that I thought of was taken. He said, "Why don't you just create a name? Because nobody will
Yeah.
have it." And that's how we got to that. So Afkave is a brand that right now we're focusing on seasonings, and
Mhm.
the seasonings that I have. There's the Habesha spice, which is like a nod to Ethiopia, and then the curry, which is a nod to the Caribbean. It's a specific type of curry. It's a Madras curry that is used a lot in Trinidad and Guyana. And then my maroon maple jerk syrup, which I think is like nectar of the gods. It's really good. I'll send you a set.
Oh, I
And then
would love
finally,
that.
the tofu scramble magic, it's like the perfect seasoning for tofu. If anybody's had tofu, it tastes like absolutely nothing. Well,
Nothing.
yeah, this is the perfect, if you want to have a tofu scramble. I've had people sprinkle this on popcorn, all kinds of
Ah,
different things. But they're great seasonings. So that's what I'm working on now. And I've got some other things going on, but right now my spices are like the main thing.
I love that. And particularly am interested in what makes your spices unique because you talked about all the influences of the different
Mhm.
cultures. And so can you talk to us about how you're doing that nod to the diaspora in the food and
Absolutely.
seasonings that you're offering?
Absolutely. Well, the curry, curry is something that my mother's culture, Guyana is like 50% Indian now. And curry is so funny.
Mhm.
Curry is something I ate so much. My husband jokes that I probably had curry in my bottle growing up. But curry to me it is definitely like my ratatouille meal. Like when I eat curry,
Yeah,
it's so comforting, and it just
yeah.
reminds me of my mother and growing up. And I definitely wanted to include this because I think that there's so many different types of curry out there that aren't just really good. And Guyanese and Trinidadians are used to curry that's like a really, like almost like a strong, rich curry. And so that's what
Okay.
this is like. And so this is representing the Caribbean in the diaspora. And then the
Okay.
Habesha spice. I just love Ethiopian cuisine. I feel it's super underrepresented. um
Yes.
but it is so unique, and it's got this smokiness and this earthiness, and it's a type of thing that it can take the place if you typically like use um any kind of red pepper like cayenne or whatever. This is the kind
Yeah.
of thing that gives you that flavor, but it also brings in like a cardamom and cinnamon, and it's like a sweet heat
Ah,
type of thing. So that's what this is. And then this to me, I like spice, but I whenever I do things spicy, I always like to add a little sweetness to it to take off the heat.
okay.
And so that's what this is. This has a spiciness to it, but like if you were to eat chicken and waffles, or, veggie chicken and waffles, this would be perfect because it has
Perfect.
the savory and it also
Yeah.
has the sweet that would just bring it all together.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I just discovered recently this thing. It's like hot honey. It's
Mm.
yeah. There's a hot honey. I think it's Mike's is the brand, but it's sweet, but it has like some heat to
Mm.
it, and
That
it's
sounds
really
good. I
good.
have to check that out.
So that, yeah, yeah. So I bet that maple syrup has a similar flavor, but I do maple syrup a lot. So I would definitely be interested in that. Now, Julie Lee just had a comment. Amanda, if you could put that back up for me. She said, I've ordered the curry and the jerk
Uh,
seasoning, took my chicken to a
to
whole
a whole
different
different,
level.
yeah. And I
She's
tell people that
testifying.
while I'm a vegan chef, and they say vegan because I want people to know there's no animal products in it, but by all means, this is great. Like I know people that have used this on, like, they've grilled fish and they've used
Ah,
this and they love it.
yeah.
I've had people that have done, like ribs and stuff, and they use that. So you can use it on whatever you want to use it on. But thank you, Julie. Glad to hear that.
Oh yeah, my mouth is watering right now. And I told you I've been looking at your stuff on Facebook and I'm just like, I need you to come to my house. So we're gonna talk afterwards about how you can come to my house and cook for
Or you
me.
can come here. Or you can come here.
Or that works
Yeah.
too. So what are you currently working on? And you said you had some things coming up. I know you can't talk about everything that's coming up right now, but can you just give us a sense of what's going on now and give us maybe a hint of what's coming or what people should look
Well,
out for?
my dream has been to do a show. I want to do a show,
Ah,
and the working title is Uprooted: A Plant-Based Journey Through the World of Food. And
oh, I
so I
love
have
that.
been, yeah, I've been in talks about that. I've actually done a pilot and a few episodes, so that's something that I'm pushing. Um, I am going to be working on a cookbook that's actually going to be printed because I did a digital cookbook a couple years ago, and I really like rushed to get that together because I was doing something at Oakwood Church. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm working on a cookbook with a good friend of mine who is a chef, and she's in Mr. Smith's camp. And so we're
Nice.
working on that. And just really trying to push my brand. I really want to educate people. I really want people to understand that transitioning is not that difficult. I want to give them the
Mhm.
steps and the tools to it.
Yeah.
Because I truly do believe that it is, this whole COVID thing has really brought health to the fore for a lot of us, because a lot
Yeah.
of people were kind of like, it's so funny because I hear people say, oh, my immune system. I'm like, how much have you been like, okay, your immune system, you recognize that like eating Doritos is not working on your immune system. So we're now dealing with things in society that literally can kill us because of pre-existing
Mhm.
conditions. Most
Very
of the people
true.
that are dying are because of pre-existing conditions. And
Very
our
true.
people in particular, we're dealing
Mm-hmm.
with diabetes, we're dealing with hypertension, we're dealing
Yeah.
with, uh high, cholesterol issues,
Yeah.
inflammatory thing. All of these things are diet related. So
Yeah.
for our community in particular, that's really been hit in the beginning. Remember in the beginning, at first they were saying,
Yes.
oh, nothing's happening to black people, and then
Yep.
whoosh.
And now we're the
So
highest. We have the highest number of deaths now. So that completely
yeah,
reversed. Yeah.
yeah,
Now
we
more
as
than
a
ever
people
is
got
an
to get it
opportunity. Is a
together.
great time to go plant based for our
Yeah,
health and safety.
yeah. And it's,
For sure.
we as a community, it's difficult because, for many of us,
Yeah.
food, like I said, food is like, it gives you that warm fuzzy feeling. It's great
Yep.
memories. And living in the world that we live in, and as people of color dealing with the microaggressions and all the stuff that we deal with during the day, when you come
Yeah.
home, you want
Yeah.
that comfort, like
Right.
for me, comfort is a bowl of like, I could have a bowl of rice and peas with some gravy, and that's comfort for me. You know,
Yeah.
that may not be
Yeah.
the best thing for me to eat because my rice and peas has coconut milk, it has this and has, so it's a once in a while thing. But what I'm saying is the way our lives are set up, food is our
Yeah.
escape, but
Mm-hmm.
food is what is also killing us. So we've got to shift that. We can
Right.
eat, but we need to tweak it and make a few changes so that we're able to enjoy it but also be nourished.
Yes. And I think it's so important for people who look like you to send that message and to show others like you how
Mhm.
we can still have the comfort food
Mhm.
without the cholesterol and the other, the high salt and sugar that, our
Absolutely.
comfort foods typically have. Yeah.
Mhm. Absolutely.
So I'm interested in some of the images that you sent us. There's conversation with so and so. What are these flyers? Culinary and conversation. What are you doing?
Okay, so there is a magazine, Monarch Magazine, that is it's a magazine out of Washington D.C. that caters to affluent African Americans. And the
Okay.
gentleman that owns the magazine, Will, reached out to me, and said I would I we had met one time, and he said, I've got this idea and I think that you'd be really great for it. And I said, okay. So we started doing these interviews with movers and shakers, like in entertainment, in business,
Mhm.
all of that. And we just cook. We cook a healthy meal, and I
Yeah.
always tell them it's just an excuse to talk to them. The food is the backdrop. And so I've done one with Master P and Little Romeo. That was great. It was
Okay.
hilarious because he has his own products that he was trying to push, and they are the antithesis of what I talk about. But anyway, he's got his fish fry, and he's got his ramen noodles, and he's got his, but he's really a really great guy. So Master
Yeah.
P was one, Eric Benet was one, Curtis Cook, who is Duda from The Shy, he was one of
Okay.
them. I just recently did Simone Sanders, Politico. She was chief of staff for Kamala Harris. And she's
Okay.
now has her own two shows that are going to be on MSNBC. Shalea Frazier, that many of us know, I interviewed her.
Yes.
Tiffany Hayes, who is part of the WNBA Dream. So it's been
Nice.
really great. I just get to talk to these people, Diane Wallace Booker of the US Dream Academy, and just talk about
Nice.
who they are, what they do, and then we just cook a dish, and they see how easy it is to fix something that they may have eaten traditionally in a healthier
Right.
way.
That's awesome. So this is in a magazine, published in a magazine, or this is a video that we could like go see.
It's a video.
Is
You can just go on YouTube and put in
YouTube.
culinary and conversation, but the interviews are also in the magazine, but it
Got you.
is you can see the video.
Awesome. So we will definitely have to check that out. Those sound like a lot of fun. And it's just amazing to me when you described where you came from and your upbringing and how you kind of did this and did that, that you found your way here into this space, doing these amazing things, having these amazing experiences.
God
Who
is
knew, right?
awesome. God is awesome. And I tell people whenever I start to get anxious, because, I'm fully aware that people look at who I work with and what I've done, and they're like, you've arrived. No,
Yeah,
I get very anxious still. I mean, I was
yeah,
gone for 7.5 months, and then
yeah,
I'm back, and it's like, what's the next thing? And I have to tell myself, God's got it. He's
yeah,
got it. What he has done, like that is why there is a verse, and I've got to remember where it was, but when God brought the Israelites out of the desert, he told the leaders to build up stones of remembrance so that when their
yeah,
children pass through, they could be told the story of where God brought them from. And this is where the
yes.
whole tissue thing comes in, because I'm about to start crying. And
Uh-oh.
it is so true,
Mm,
because as I look back, and there were some dark
mhm,
days when I was just like, what am I
mhm.
doing? And I'll be very honest with you. I was going
Yeah.
on 40 years of age, and I was sleeping in my girlfriend's extra room at her house
Mm,
because I had lost a condo to foreclosure.
mm,
Um, I couldn't find a job. My unemployment
mm,
was running out. And I
mm.
was like, and then
Mercy.
fast forward to what God has done. And so I look
Yeah.
at those stones of remembrance, and I'm just like, God is
Yeah.
awesome. Just trust
Yes.
him. Trust him.
Mm,
Just keep moving. Joshua 4, thank you. Just keep moving and trust him. He
mm.
blesses first class, and he does
Yeah.
stuff in your life that you could never. I couldn't have
Yes.
written the script better. I couldn't
Isn't
have.
that
I am
something?
literally working for the number one movie star in the world. He knows me by first name. That's God.
Wow.
That's nothing that I've done. There's nothing that
Yeah.
I've done. I can't cook that good. It's God. It's his favor for his children. And remember that if he did it for me, he will do it for every single person watching this. That is who he
Oh
is. It's his
man.
nature. That's his nature.
That is awesome. That is awesome and such a powerful testimony. And I hope everyone heard her because you may or may not know what you're meant to do, or you may or may not know how you're going to walk your vision out. But or you may even think it's too late for you, and your time has passed. By the way, Cynthia, you look amazing to be 50 something. So I just want to
Thank you.
put that out there also. But I think you're just so inspiring, and your story is
Thank you.
so motivating and inspirational for all of us to know what's possible with God. And I
Mm-hmm.
actually heard a sermon today that is so appropriate for this conversation because the premise of it was basically that sometimes people give up when they go through those hard seasons. That's the time when they think, oh, this is never going to get any better, and they don't recognize that those seasons are always temporary, and if they
Oh
just
yeah.
hang in there, God will bring you back double whatever you may have even lost, and move in ways
Absolutely.
that you never could have imagined if you just trust Him through those tough seasons. And so that's definitely what I hear you saying.
Absolutely. And the other day I did something, and I talked about peace is tied to purpose. And
Hmm.
I just believe that it's so important to practice gratefulness, to
Hmm.
practice compassion while
Hmm.
you seek your purpose. Because,
Mm.
like you were saying, there are so many jobs that I had that I just felt like it was all over the place, and I'm here and then I'm there. But let me tell
Yeah.
you, we are all mosaics, and God
Hmm.
is the master mosaic maker. And when you're
Yeah.
in the process, and you're getting cut, and there's these uneven parts, and there's these colors and these different jagged edges, and everything looks
Mm.
crazy, like right when you're right here, right? And you
Yeah.
step back
Yeah.
and
It's
you're like,
beautiful. Wow.
look at
Yeah.
this mosaic. Look at God. Look at what he
Yeah.
created. And all the while you're just bouncing around and you're just like, what is happening? He's
Right.
got it all figured out. All figured out.
Yeah.
That's what he does. He is the master mosaic maker, and your life is a mosaic.
I love it. Everybody's saying they love it in the comments. Say love it if you agree.
God is awesome. God
Yes.
is awesome.
Yes, I agree. I think that's such a tremendous message, and I'm so excited for what God is doing in your life. I cannot wait to try the seasonings. Guys, I'm gonna make sure I put the information out there so you know how to find her. Definitely got to add you to the Hey Girl High Five. So
Yes. Yes. I saw
Ave
that. I was
can,
like, wait, what?
yes, yes,
Absolutely. And right now for this month, we're
definitely.
doing, this month is buy one, get one free. So
Oh,
yeah,
perfect.
that's what's going
Okay,
on. It's
guys. So
automatic.
you
It's automatic. So when you order, whatever you ordered, you'll get another one of that.
All right, so let's get over there this month while we have that deal and get some of those good seasonings. And you may not have the benefit of her cooking for you, but maybe you can get a little taste of her food through these seasonings. I
Yes.
know I'm gonna definitely
Yes.
give it a try. Thank you so much, Cynthia, for your time, for your
Thank
story.
you.
Um,
Thank you. That went
so it's
quick.
been such a blessing. I know, time flies. Time flies when you're having fun.
Yes.
But I thank you for being here. And I thank all of you who have watched today. Go and check out her brand and like, follow, and follow her stuff too, so we can be on board when she comes out with that new show or whatever is coming down. We can be there to witness it. And I just want to go to our scripture now, which I think is really appropriate for this conversation. It comes from Psalm 128, verse 1 and 2. Blessed are all who fear the Lord, who walk in obedience to him. You will eat the fruit of your labor. Blessings and prosperity will be yours. One thing that she talked about today, guys, is excellence and adhering to excellence no matter what season we find ourselves in, whether we hate our job or love our job. Do all things with excellence, because you never know what this season is preparing you for. Okay. I think that if nothing else, that is the takeaway for all of us today. And I'm so grateful that you were here. And I'm certainly grateful that Cynthia was here to share that amazing story. I hope that you will join us again next week. I am definitely looking forward to meeting my guest, Rosemary Sherrod. She is author of Believing in the Dark, and she will be here to talk about her son's 15-year battle with cancer and the triumphant faith that gave her the courage to endure. We are continuing with our emphasis on Black Girl Magic. And as I said when we kicked off this theme, that phrase, Black Girl Magic, doesn't necessarily mean that these women have something that you don't have access to. It just means that they have tapped into their resources, and that includes those hard times, and they have found a way to make something beautiful. So I hope you'll tune in again next week. I look forward to seeing you. In the meantime, God bless. Take care.
Hey girl, join me all this month as we celebrate Black History Month and Black Girl Magic. We have a full lineup of amazing women who are making their way in the world. Be inspired by their magic. Join us Saturdays at 5 on Facebook Live.